Sandy's Treedome is made out of glass, right? Wrong. In Tea at the Treedome, Sandy states that the dome is made of the finest polyurethane, but in another episode, she claims that it's made of 10 tons of pressure-proof glass. This left me scratching my head and wondering, what do we actually know about the Treedome? What exactly is Sandy's Treedome? Why is it there in the first place, and how in the world did NASA get involved with its creation? Well, I spent the next 3 days researching because that's what I do. Seriously, I don't have anything else to do.
Oh shit, here we go again.
And I'm not just going to look at her house from the outside, I went deep, and trust me, when I say deep, I really went into the specific parts, the environmental factors, and everything in between. I mean, Patrick got his rock, SpongeBob has a pineapple, Mr. Krabs got his anchor house. These are things that probably fell into the sea. In fact, the show tells us that SpongeBob's pineapple fell from a ship. But Sandy Cheeks has a scientific marvel as her house. Yeah, you can say that Plankton also has a house where you will see scientific innovations like robots and stuff, but come on, he went to college, and he was already living under the water. So this leads to the question, how did Sandy end up living in Bikini Bottom? Sandy didn't just wake up one day and decide to move to Bikini Bottom for the heck of it. She is from Texas, which I believe is on land. Now, you might think that her underwater move was all about science, studying sea creatures and learning how they live in a world so different from the Texas plains she grew up on. And sure, that's partly true, but there's a twist to this story, and it comes straight from Season 4's Chimps Ahoy!
Allow me to introduce ourselves. I am Professor Percy. This is Dr. Marmalade.
At your service.
And this is Lord Reginald.
In this episode, we meet Professor Percy, Dr. Marmalade, and Lord Reginald, 3 ultra-posh chimpanzees who just happen to be Sandy's bosses at Treedome Enterprises. They're not here for tea and cookies, though. They've come to inspect her progress on the high-tech inventions they've been funding. And let me tell you, the stakes couldn't be higher. If Sandy doesn't impress these brainy primates, they'll cut off her funding and boot her out of Bikini Bottom faster than SpongeBob can say,
I'm ready.
Naturally, Sandy goes into full-blown panic mode, which is only made worse when SpongeBob and Patrick show up to help. Their attempts to assist, bless their hearts, are so disastrously bad that the Treedome temporarily shuts down. Just when it seems like all hope is lost, the chimps stumble upon one of Sandy's more unassuming creations, a nutcracker that peels bananas. This is the moment that changes everything. Turns out, this little gadget is the invention the Chimps have been dreaming of for years. They're so impressed, they extend Sandy's contract for another 20 years and even give her a raise. So why is Sandy really in Bikini Bottom? Not so much to study sea life, but to cook up groundbreaking inventions for her chimpanzee overlords. Maybe they thought isolating her underwater would spark her creativity, or maybe they just wanted her far enough away that she couldn't complain about the workload. Either way, it's safe to say they didn't count on SpongeBob's chaotic influence becoming a regular part of her life. And obviously, she needed a place to stay underwater. According to Patchy the Pirate in the Bikini Bottom's Up tour, Sandy's high-tech dome was a gift from her pals at NASA.
Now, Sandy is a land animal that lives under the sea, so her house has to be very special. It's pressurized, it has an airlock, it's climate controlled. It was built for her by her friends at NASA. It's got everything a squirrel could want.
So, she got friends at NASA. Let me know in the comments below if you know someone who is in NASA. Now, think of her house as a combination of a biodome, a survival bunker, and a Texan backyard. It's climate controlled, nearly indestructible, and equipped with everything a squirrel could need to live comfortably in a world of fish and sponges. Now, let's step outside and talk about the Treedome's exterior. First off, the dome itself is a masterpiece. The dome is airtight to obviously keep water out and air in, which allows Sandy to ditch her pressurized suit when she's at home. But in Tea at the Treedome, Sandy claims the dome is made of the finest polyurethane, a fancy way of saying plastic.
This dome is made of the strongest polyurethane. That's a fancy name for plastic.
But fast forward to Feral Friends, and she's suddenly saying it's made of 10 tons of pressure-proof glass. Did she renovate? Was she just showing off? Or is this one of those Bikini Bottom quirks where the laws of physics are more of a suggestion than a rule? Inside the dome, it's like a tiny slice of land-based paradise. While watching the episode Tea at the Treedome, I noticed that there's lush grass. There are a few flowers that seem to change with the seasons. For example, we can see the winter season in the episode Survival of the Idiots.
What is this stuff?
It's a vast, swirling wonderland of sparkling white pleasure. Let it fill your senses with cascading, fluffy pillows of excitement and comfort as you've never felt before.
Wow, Patrick.
Did you see there's even a picnic table covered in the snow? I'm assuming Sandy can enjoy a quiet meal here during the summers, of course, when she's not being interrupted. I will talk about seasons a bit later, but let's keep our focus on the Treedome for now. Sandy's creativity and her scientific intelligence shines through in every corner of the dome. For example, there's a scene in Tea at the Treedome where we see that she can drain the water at the entrance of her house. This is the kind of smart home I need. Obviously, customized to my specific requirements, like my driveway should be able to convert into a swimming pool whenever I want. There's a garage for her boatmobile, an escape pod for emergency trips back to Texas, and even a rocket that's made a few appearances like in Sandy's Rocket. In this episode, we see that she built a rocket to go to the moon. Obviously, the experiment failed because of SpongeBob and Patrick, but let's be honest, this shows her scientific brilliance and her knack for turning big dreams into reality. And for those moments when she really needs to block out the world, or SpongeBob, the dome can be covered with a layer of riveted sheet metal. But perhaps the most charming thing about the Treedome is how it changes with the seasons. I mean, Sandy's Treedome is like a little slice of land life under the sea, and it experiences its own version of seasons. Just like on land, the environment inside the dome shifts with the time of year. When the colder months roll around, the Treedome transforms into a snowy wonderland. The ground inside the dome is blanketed with snow, and Sandy's oak tree often loses its leaves, leaving behind its bare branches. This chilly season was hilariously highlighted in the episode Survival of the Idiots, where SpongeBob and Patrick sneak into the dome while Sandy is hibernating. They find themselves in a frigid, snow-filled environment and get into all kinds of trouble. Winter in the Treedome is unique because it's one of the rare times we see Bikini Bottom experiencing something like actual weather. It also reflects Sandy's Texan roots as she hibernates through winter, just like a real squirrel. During this time, she's tucked away in her tree, leaving her dome unusually quiet until SpongeBob and Patrick inevitably caused chaos. When spring arrives, the Treedome comes back to life. Flowers bloom, the tree regains its leaves, and everything feels fresh and lively. Sandy's garden, introduced in the SpongeBob movie Sponge on the Run, thrives during this season. This season also brings back Sandy's energy as she jumps back into her experiments, karate practice, and all-around squirrel shenanigans. And of course, summer is pure squirrel energy. The grass is greener than the envy plankton feels toward Mr. Krabs, and everything's in full swing. It's vibrant, alive, and just a little chaotic, kinda like Sandy herself. I bet even her picnic table has a to-do list. Now, we don't see fall in the show, but I think it likely brings a more rustic and peaceful feel to the Treedome. Leaves might fall, and Sandy could be busy preparing for her winter hibernation. It's easy to imagine her stockpiling acorns and tuning up her inventions, ensuring everything is set for her long seasonal nap. But let's not forget the giant oak tree at its center.
Oak tree. It provides me with extra air.
This tree is basically Sandy's home, her oxygen supply, and her acorn factory all rolled into one. In Season 1, we're told it's an oak, but in A Flea in Her Dome, it looks suspicious because it has apples on it. Well, Sandy might be secretly experimenting with hybrid trees. Or, as I like to think, Bikini Bottom soil is magical. I mean, the questions keep piling up like acorns in autumn. And speaking of piling up, how did Sandy get all her stuff down down there. I assume she engineered some kind of squirrel-supervised submarine operation. Knowing Sandy, it probably involved rocket boosters and a lot of duct tape. And talking about submarines, she owns one. In Squidtastic Voyage, we see there's a miniature submarine which is designed for emergency situations or exploration. It's small enough to maneuver through tight spaces, but equipped with all the essentials for underwater navigation. But what happens when you step inside the tree? Well, you can imagine taking all the best parts of a Texas ranch, a high-tech lab, and an astronaut training facility and stuffing them into a climate-controlled bubble at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. It's as if Sandy looked at a checklist for extreme underwater survival and said, why stop there? Let's make it cozy too. Sandy's abode is packed with gadgets and amenities that would make any tech enthusiast green with envy. There's an exercise hamster wheel for staying fit. Well, you didn't think Sandy would miss out on a chance to pay homage to her rodent roots, did you? The giant hamster wheel is a playful yet practical addition to the Treedome. It's her go-to for cardio workouts. It's also a cheeky nod to her being a land critter in a sea full of fish. There's a karate ring where she spars with SpongeBob, but I'll talk about it later. Right now, I want to tackle a much bigger factor: the size of this tree. The Treedome's interior seems to follow a stretchy pants logic. It's as big or as small as it needs to be. Sometimes it feels like a cozy backyard. Other times, it's a sprawling arena for karate battles. And in pre-hibernation week, we see Sandy's practical side with the clothesline for her suit and clothing. It's a simple yet effective way to keep her gear in top shape. Given how often Sandy is zipping in and out of her pressurized suit, this feature ensures she's always ready for her next adventure. Plus, it's a charming reminder of her DIY attitude, because why rely on a drawing machine when you can use good old-fashioned ingenuity? Her bedroom reflects her DIY prowess, featuring a wooden bed, a rocking chair, and nightstands crafted from the very branches of the tree. But what really stands out is her house telephone. Forget plastic and wires. Sandy's phone is an ingenious concoction made from a wooden log, acorns for the earpiece and mouthpiece, and a vine serving as the telephone cord. Who says technology and nature can't coexist? If you think that's all, think again. Sandy's room is full of surprises, including an automated trap door over a metal slide that serves as an express route out of the tree. In the episode A Flea in Her Dome, we see Sandy slide down her automated trap door. I always dreamed about trying that slide. Honestly, even now, I'd jump at the chance. You can't tell me you wouldn't want to start your day with a slide instead of a boring staircase. Moving to the living room, it's a space of comfort and utility. It features rugs, wicker sofas, and a television. It's a spot where Sandy can kick back after a long day of inventing or karate chopping. The rustic theme continues into her bathroom, which includes a shower stall and a tree stump that doubles as storage for her spacesuit. There's even a hook for her fur pelt when she's not wearing it. Talk about thoughtful interior design. The bathroom also houses a sink and a medicine cabinet, but in true SpongeBob fashion, its lock is bizarrely located on the outside. Practicality meets Bikini Bottom absurdity. I would say that every detail inside Sandy's tree is a subtle nod from the creators to reflect her personality. Resourceful, practical, and unafraid to embrace her quirky side. And it makes sense to have a boxing ring inside your home if you are a martial arts expert. The weightlifting equipment and the legendary arm cruncher also make their appearance in Muscle Bob Buff pants. The arm cruncher is a beast of a machine, which is designed to turn even the weakest arms into shredded masterpieces. Or at least that's the idea. It's also where SpongeBob learns the hard way that shortcuts to strength come with some hilarious consequences. But I still have one question. Is the Treedome indestructible? Now, I admit that the Treedome is certainly one of the most impressive structures in Bikini Bottom, and it's definitely designed to protect Sandy Cheeks from the ocean's harsh environment. And you might think that it could withstand just about anything, but is it truly indestructible? Technically not. The material used to create the dome is strong, as I have already mentioned that in Tea at the Treedome, she mentions that her dome is made of a strong plastic material. So the dome's structure can take quite a bit of abuse, but it does have its limits. For example, in the secret box, SpongeBob's attempts to get into Patrick's secret box leads to some accidental damage to the dome, which shows that the polyurethane material, while tough, can still be affected under certain circumstances. It's clear that while the Treedome can handle a lot, be it from the outside environment or SpongeBob's curious antics, there are still moments when the dome faces some stress. So while it's not invincible, it's definitely one tough home. Well, who knew a simple dome could hold so many secrets? But Sandy's Treedome isn't the only mystery. I mean, what if SpongeBob and Patrick have never met before? Or what if Squidward is not the regular cashier you have always believed him to be? Click the on screen to explore the next SpongeBob mystery, and don't forget to subscribe.